This story takes place in a dive MMORPG video game where players can enjoy a fictional world as if they were inside it. The most famous game of this genre is called Yggdrasil, and it was released in the year 2126. 12 years after its launch, the game's servers are about to shut down. Mamanga, our protagonist, bids farewell to his companions who have been with him for 12 years, where they used to be the round table of their guild. There, he's talking to one of his companions, Hirohiro, before the game shuts down. Hirohiro expresses surprise that the great tomb of Nazarick is still there, thanks to Mamanga, who, as the guild leader, took care of maintaining their base. Mamanga responds that Nazarick was a base they all created together. Hirohiro leaves and tells Mamanga that he hopes they'll meet again someday, outside the video game. Since it's the last day the Yggdrasil server will be operational, Mamanga decides to stay until the end, feeling somewhat lonely as none of the companions who helped build the guild's base are present anymore. Despite this, he doesn't feel betrayed. He looks at his guild's weapon, the Staff of Ainzul Gown, remembering that to create it, some members used their vacations, and others argued with their spouses for using their time to gather materials. Nevertheless, out of the 41 members, 37 of them left the game. Mamanga speaks to himself, saying that there were 2 requirements to join the guild: the character must not be human, and the player must be a functional member of society. All the members had jobs, and some even fulfilled their dreams. Due to this, he can't blame them for choosing their real lives over the game. Traveling through the guild base, he encounters NPCs, which stands for non-playable characters controlled by the computer, who reside there. As the guild leader, he orders them to follow him, as it's the last day of the game. He says there won't be any problem with doing whatever he wants today, and the other guild members would understand. After walking for a while, he encounters Albedo, Nazarick's strongest NPC, and checks her settings. After an extensive text, he reads, "On the outside she's a perfect beauty, but on the inside she's a B." Sorry, I can't say the complete word. Mamanga remembers that these settings were made by his companion named Tabula, who liked contradictory characters. Mamanga, using the guild staff, changes Albedo's configuration, erases the last part, and writes, "Deeply in love with Mamanga." After this, he uses the bow gesture command, and all the NPCs bow. Mamanga remembers that he needs to wake up at 4 a.m. tomorrow, so as soon as the server goes down, he must go to sleep early. At midnight, when the server was supposed to close, the in-game seconds keep passing. This makes Mamanga wonder if they postponed the server shutdown. However, he can't open the console or contact the administrator. Then Albedo asks if something is wrong and Mamanga notices her lips moving. To check what's happening, he orders Seabass, one of the NPCs, to walk outside the guild base and confirm the surroundings of Nazarick. Then he orders the other NPCs to go to the 9th floor and watch for possible intruders. Before, the NPCs needed specific commands, but now they recognize orders as if they were real humans. Albedo asks if he has any orders for her, and Mamanga tells her to come closer, smelling a pleasant scent. This is something that wasn't in the video game before. Then he holds Albedo's arm and notices that she has a pulse. According to Mamanga, Albedo seems to be alive, but there's still the final test. Mamanga says that the fact that he can perform plus 18 actions, which couldn't be done in Yggdrasil, in addition to conversing with the NPCs, seeing their natural expressions, and even perceiving their scent, suggests that what used to be a game might now be real life. Without dwelling on it further, Mamanga orders Albedo to gather everyone in the 6th floor battle arena, except for the guardians of the 4th and 8th doors. Once on the 6th floor, Mamanga says that the Dark Elf twins should be the guardians of that place. One of these twins, named Aura, appears and welcomes him, then loudly calls for her twin brother Mare, telling him he's being rude. Mare comes down, and despite seeming quite shy, he asks Mamanga if that item isn't the staff that even the guild leader isn't allowed to touch. Mamanga responds that it's true, and that it's the most powerful weapon the guild could create. Each stone in the mouths of the 7 snakes is a divine artifact, surpassing even the power of the gods. This item is above any other item in this world and is here in the battle arena for testing with his staff. In Yggdrasil, to cast magic, all you had to do was click on the desired icon, but now the icon and the game interface no longer exist, as it seems it has ceased to be a game. So, when reciting the spell, "Summon Primal Fire Elemental," he summons a fire elemental and asks Aura to try to defeat it, and the twins easily manage to defeat the elemental. Later, the other NPCs start arriving, and Mamanga wonders if this isn't the same Yggdrasil as before but another world. Should he try to return to his world? But as he has no family or friends, he thinks there's no point in going back. When all the NPCs arrive, they perform a loyalty ritual led by Albedo, in which they all swear their loyalty and bow before him, concluding Chapter 1. Chapter 2 begins after the loyalty ritual, with Seabass, who had been sent to explore and is now back reporting to Mamanga that the surroundings of Nazarick, which were previously swamps, are now covered in grasslands. Additionally, there are no monsters or human constructions. Mamanga realizes that Nazarick has been transported to an unknown land for some reason. He orders Albedo and Demiurge to create a shared information system and fortify the defenses. Mamanga asks Mare if it's possible to conceal Nazarick, and Mare responds that it would be difficult with just magic. They would have to cover the walls with dirt to blend into the vegetation, but it would still look unnatural. So Mamanga asks Seabass if there are hills in the area, but Seabass replies that everything is covered by plains. However, they could create artificial hills. Mamanga decides that's what they'll do, create artificial hills with magic and cover the rest with dirt and vegetation. Mamanga then has a conversation where he asks his guardians what they think of him. They all respond extremely positively. Mamanga leaves, and Albedo and Shelter begin to argue about who should be Mamanga's wife. There are irrelevant or boring conversations and events that don't have any weight in the story until we get to a conversation between Demiurge and Mamanga. The conversation is also irrelevant, and the only noteworthy thing is that Mamanga wonders if he's the only Yggdrasil player who was transported to another world or if there might be others. To add to this, I want to clarify that what happened exactly with the world is somewhat confusing, so I looked for information on a wiki. This isn't a spoiler. The world they are in now is provisionally called the New World. It's not Yggdrasil per se, but it shares many similarities, such as magic and culture. In conclusion, after the server shut down, Nazarick was transported to another world, the NPCs inside Nazarick came to life, and Mamanga was trapped in this world, which is no longer a video game. Having said that, let's continue with the summary. While Mamanga continued talking with Demiurge, Mare is seen covering Nazarick with dirt as ordered by Mamanga. He then goes to give Mare an Angel Gown ring, which allows for teleportation throughout Nazarick. Mare initially refuses it, as only supreme beings can wear it, but Mamanga insists, and Mare accepts it. Afterward, Albedo arrives, and as the leader of the Guardians, Mamanga gives her a ring too. To not offend Demiurge, he tells him that he will prepare a ring for him later. This scene ends, and then we see some armored individuals planning to attack a village in the morning, concluding Chapter 2. Not much interesting happens in this chapter, but Chapter 3 is much better, so don't go away and subscribe to help me reach 1,000 subscribers. With that said, let's continue with Chapter 3. Chapter 3 begins with soldiers assisting survivors of a village that was attacked, probably by the individuals mentioned in the previous chapter who said they would attack a village at dawn. The captain orders the survivors to be taken back to Urantal, but the vice-captain argues that they should also return since they have only 50 men, and deploying their forces where they are would be dangerous. He suggests that even if they sacrifice some villages, it's better than losing the captain, who is the nation's finest swordsman. The captain responds, saying he's a commoner and that living in a village means living alongside death, constantly exposed to monster attacks or enemies. He asks the vice-captain if he ever hoped that powerful nobles or adventurers would come to save him. The vice-captain admits that denying it would be a lie and that he found himself in that situation as well. The captain then tells him that they should be the ones to appear first and fulfill those hopes to show that the strong help the weak. Mamanga watches an attack on a village through a remote viewing mirror, which he finds difficult to control. During the attack, despite seeing people die, he feels calm and thinks that before coming to this world, he would have felt helpless. However, for some reason, he has changed. Seabass asks what they should do, and Mamanga says they should just ignore them since there's no benefit in helping. However, he recalls that when Yggdrasil was still a video game, one of his companions, Touchsan, saved him from a group attacking him for having a non-human avatar. At that time, they had just met, and Mamanga asked why Touchsan helped him, a stranger. Touchsan responded that it's common sense to save someone in danger. To repay his debt to Touchsan, Mamanga decides to go and help the villagers. But before that, he asks Seabass to inform Albedo to accompany him fully armed. Upon arrival, he uses a spell called Grasp Heart on one of the soldiers. Mamanga mentions that this is his favorite spell, which is level 9. If something as powerful as this didn't work on the humans of this world, he planned to escape. With the other soldier, he uses Dragon Lightning, a level 5 spell. Seeing the ease with which these low-level spells killed the soldiers, Mamanga concludes that these humans are very weak. He creates a Death Knight from the corpse of one of the soldiers and orders it to attack anyone attacking the village. Shortly after, Albedo arrives fully armed and asks what to do with the humans, referring to them as inferior life forms. Mamanga tells her that their only enemies are those wearing armor. Mamanga gives a potion to the injured girl, but her younger sister tries to prevent her from drinking it due to mistrust. This angers Albedo, and if Mamanga hadn't stopped her, she would have beheaded them. Finally, the girl drinks the potion, and her back wound heals, as does her clothing. After this, Mamanga asks them if they know what magic is, intending to gather information about the world he's in. The girl responds that they do because a friend of theirs uses magic. Since they know about magic, Mamanga explains that he is a spellcaster, and tells them they'll be safe within the protective barrier he just created. He also gives them some horns that, if blown, will summon a goblin army to their aid. Before leaving, the girl thanks him and asks for his name. He replies that he is called Ainzel Gown. The Death Knight that Mamanga summoned continues to massacre the soldiers and satisfyingly kills the most foolish of them, who happens to be a noble offering money in exchange for the others serving as his human shields. The remaining soldiers futilely attempt to fight the Death Knight, and fail miserably. Mamanga orders the Death Knight to stop, then presents himself to the knights as Ainsul Gown, telling them that he'll allow them to leave alive but to deliver a message to their master. Next time you cause trouble in this area, I will bring death to your kingdom. The knights quickly retreat, and the village chief, who is the leader of the village, asks Mamanga who he truly is. Mamanga responds that he saw they were being attacked, so he came to help. However, it won't be free, and he expects a reward. In his thoughts, Mamanga mentions that he asked for money, but what he's really interested in is gaining information about the world he's in. The village chief and his wife believe his story about being a retired magic caster who knows nothing about the world. Mamanga's first discovery is that the currency from Yggdrasil doesn't work in this world. Instead, they use gold for transactions. He then asks about the nearest kingdom and learns that both this village and his guild's base are now located within the Riestai's kingdom. The village chief shows him a map and talks about neighboring countries and their relationships. The knights who attacked, judging by their armor, are from the Baharuth Empire. The chief adds that the nearest city to the village is Irantal, where goblins, orcs, and ogres appear in the surrounding area and are hunted by adventurers. These adventurers belong to a guild where one can hire their services. In his thoughts, Mamanga says that now his story will spread from village to village, and if he meets others who have been transported to this world from Yggdrasil, he'd like to help them. With nothing more to do in the village, he tells Albedo it's time to leave. But before they go, he asks her if she hates humans. She responds that they are weak and inferior creatures, and she'd like to crush them like insects. Mamanga tells her to treat them with kindness, and that how they act is important. Mamanga again speaks to himself in his thoughts, saying that despite what he just said, he felt nothing when he killed a person, and he wonders if it's an effect of no longer being human. At one point, Mamanga looks toward the villagers, and it appears they have a problem. The village chief says that some knights are heading to the village. Mamanga tells the chief to protect the survivors in his house and accompanies him to the square to await the knights. Upon arrival, the knight introduces himself as Gazef Stranov, the captain of the Riestai's kingdom's army, who received orders from the king to hunt down the knights from the empire. Gazef asks the village chief who is standing beside him, and the chief is about to respond when Mamanga interrupts and introduces himself cordially as Ainsul Gown, a magic caster who came to help the village during the attack. Gazef dismounts from his horse and says that words cannot express his gratitude. Just moments later, one of his soldiers informs him that there are approaching figures in the vicinity, and Chapter 3 concludes. If you've made it this far, I must thank you for watching the video until the end. Please subscribe and comment if you want a part 2. Goodbye.